It was a quiet morning in Dublin Castle, July 6, 1907. A cleaner entered the Office of Arms, noticing the strongroom door ajar, something that should never happen. Sir Arthur Vickers, Ulster King of Arms, arrived and discovered the unthinkable. The Irish crown jewels were gone. The news raced to King Edward VII, who was preparing for a royal visit. Furious, the king cancelled the investiture ceremony and demanded answers. These weren't just jewels, they were the insignia of the Order of St. Patrick, symbols of royal authority. Their disappearance was a humiliation for the British Crown, especially on the eve of the king's arrival. The theft exposed a vulnerability at the heart of British rule in Ireland. Scotland Yard detectives were dispatched, but Dublin Castle was a fortress of secrets. The investigation quickly tangled in confusion and conflicting stories. The castle's walls, meant to protect, now seemed to hide more than they revealed. Who could have walked into a guarded castle and taken the crown jewels? Was it a lucky thief or someone on the inside? The empty strongroom became a symbol of lost trust and shaken power. The theft wasn't just about missing gems, it was about a stolen sense of order. The mystery deepened with every passing day. The castle's silence was deafening. The question lingered: who had the keys and who had the nerve? The story that began with a quiet open door would haunt Ireland for generations. The crown jewels were gone, but the riddle had only just begun. The theft was a wound to royal pride and a challenge to British authority. The investigation would reveal not just a crime, but a nation's unease. Dublin Castle, once a symbol of control, now stood as a monument to mystery. The case would become one of the greatest unsolved crimes in Irish history. The empty velvet cases were a silent accusation. The search for answers would lead only to more questions. The riddle of the Irish crown jewels endures to this day. To grasp the shock of the theft, you need to understand what was stolen. The Irish crown jewels weren't ancient relics, but dazzling symbols of British rule, crafted in 1831 for the Order of St. Patrick. The star and badge, set with hundreds of diamonds, emeralds and rubies, were breathtaking. They represented the union between Great Britain and Ireland, a union under threat by 1907. For loyalists, the jewels were a mark of prestige. For nationalists, a painful reminder of foreign rule. Sir Arthur Vickers, the Ulster King of Arms, was their guardian. The jewels were kept in a safe inside a strongroom within Vickers' office at Dublin Castle. This fortress of security was meant to be impenetrable, yet their disappearance exposed the fragility of British power in Ireland. The theft was more than a crime, it was a political crisis. The missing jewels mocked the very authority they were meant to represent. Their loss was a deep embarrassment for the British government. The empty cases were a symbol. The old order was not as secure as it seemed. The theft left behind not just questions, but a sense of unraveling power. On paper, the crown jewels were protected by layers of security. In reality, those defenses were riddled with carelessness. The jewels sat in a heavy safe inside a strongroom in the Office of Arms. Sir Arthur Vickers had one key to the strongroom, but he was notoriously forgetful, sometimes leaving it in the lock or in his coat. The other key was with his staff, and the safe's key was supposedly always on Vickers's person. But on the night of the theft, the chain of security broke. The thief likely needed no force, just the right key. The castle's human defenses were even weaker. The Office of Arms was treated like a private club, with guests coming and going. Doors were left unlocked, and the night watchman's patrol was inconsistent. A sentry post was removed weeks before the theft, for reasons no one could explain. When the theft was discovered, there were no signs of a break-in. The strongroom and safe were simply unlocked. The thief had walked in, taken the jewels and vanished. It was an inside job, or at least someone with inside knowledge. The castle's defenses hadn't been broken. They had simply failed. The real breach was not of walls, but of trust. The stage was set for a mystery that would never be solved. The weeks before the theft were a parade of missed warnings. In June, Vickers lost the front door key after lending it out. He never changed the lock. On July 3rd, Vickers claimed to lock the jewels in the safe, but a cleaner found the strongroom door wide open. No one seemed concerned. The office routine was sloppy, security an afterthought. On July 5th, Vickers returned late, claiming to check the safe, but his memory was unreliable. Reports of strange noises and figures in the courtyard went uninvestigated. Sometime between July 3rd and 6th, someone entered, opened the strong room, unlocked the safe and took the jewels. They also took 5 knights' collars but left less valuable items. The police found no clues, no fingerprints, no broken locks, no struggle. The crime scene was eerily clean. The pattern was clear. Security failures made the theft inevitable. The focus shifted from outside burglars to those inside the castle walls. The investigation narrowed to those with access to the Office of Arms. Sir Arthur Vickers, the official guardian, was careless and unable to clear his name. His chaotic personal life and shifting stories made him a suspect. Francis Shackleton, Vickers' deputy and brother of the famous explorer, was charming, well-connected and always in debt. He had access, motive and opportunity. Captain Richard Gorges, a wild friend of Shackleton, was often seen near the office and had a reputation for trouble. The idea of a conspiracy between Shackleton and Gorges gained traction. Some wondered if Irish nationalists were involved, but no group claimed responsibility. The crime seemed too precise for a political act. It felt personal. The list of suspects was short, but their secrets ran deep. The investigation became a web of suspicion and intrigue. The truth was buried beneath layers of loyalty and betrayal. The real story was hidden in the relationships between these men. The mystery only deepened as the inquiry continued. Francis Shackleton quickly became the prime suspect. Unlike Vickers, Shackleton was smooth, confident, and socially adept. He secured his post through connections, not qualifications. Behind the charm, he was drowning in debt and desperate for money. The jewels would have solved his financial woes. He worked in the office daily and knew Vickers' sloppy habits. Rumors swirled that Shackleton made a wax impression of the safe key. After the theft, he showed little concern and left for London. His answers to police were evasive. He seemed more interested in his reputation than the truth. Scotland Yard detectives were convinced of his guilt but found no direct evidence. Years later, Shackleton was convicted of fraud and imprisoned. For many, this confirmed their suspicions about the jewels. But he never confessed, and the jewels were never found. Shackleton died in disgrace, the likely culprit who took his secrets to the grave. The case against him was strong but never proven. The mystery remained unsolved. The investigation uncovered more than theft. It revealed a hidden world inside Dublin Castle. Whispers spread of a secret society of well-connected homosexual men, including Shackleton and Gorges. In 1907, such a scandal could destroy reputations and topple careers. The Office of Arms was rumoured to be a private clubhouse for wild parties. The police now faced not just a crime, but a potential scandal that could reach the highest levels of power. Some believed the jewels were stolen for blackmail, not profit. Vickers, desperate to clear his name, accused Shackleton and Gorges, hinting at a cover-up. The authorities seemed more interested in containing the scandal than solving the crime. The investigation shifted from finding the jewels to protecting reputations. The whispers of scandal paralyzed the inquiry. The truth was buried under layers of fear and shame. The real story was lost in the shadows of secrecy. The crown jewels became a symbol of secrets too dangerous to expose. Scotland Yard's Chief Inspector John Kane was sent to solve the case. He quickly suspected Shackleton and Gorges, believing the theft was an inside job. Kane compiled a detailed report and requested search warrants. Suddenly his investigation was shut down. A vice-regal commission replaced the criminal inquiry, focusing only on Vickers' negligence. The commission had no power to compel witnesses or press charges. Shackleton and others were never officially questioned. The real investigation was suffocated, not botched. Authorities feared what a full inquiry might reveal, especially the rumoured scandal. The establishment protected its own, sacrificing truth for reputation. The crime remained unsolved, the real story buried. More than a century later, the Irish crown jewels remain missing. Some believe the diamonds were sold off, their history erased for profit. Others imagine the jewels hidden, waiting to be found. Searches have turned up nothing. No jewels, no confessions. Key police files vanished for decades, and official records are vague or redacted. The British establishment succeeded in burying the scandal. The main players took their secrets to the grave. Vickers was murdered by the IRA. Shackleton died in obscurity. The story faded from crisis to curiosity. The empty velvet boxes in the National Museum are all that remain. The mystery is more than a cold case. It's a story of power, secrets, and the end of an era. The riddle endures. Who had the keys? Who turned a blind eye? And who enforced the silence? The final chapter is still unwritten.